Hello, fellow Magic the Gathering drafters, and welcome to the draft experience with me, Habra. In this series, I will show you my drafting experience, as well as give you a guide to the deck that I've built with the cards available to me. I will then give you a post-commentary of the gameplay with some action built in, some explosions here and there, and my live reaction will also be present. So without further ado, let's get right into the draft.
Alright, what do we got? Leyline of the Void, but Ghost Vacuum. This card's insane. I love this card. This card's so good. It fights off Delirium, but I don't think I can pass a Vacuum here. Dazzling Theaters. Murder, good. I mean, Murder is the safest choice, I think. And we follow that up with some good blue stuff here. Egotist is pretty good. We took the Murder, I'll take the Egotist. Another Egotist, but Bottomless Pool here on the follow. I guess I'll stick with the Egotist. Okay, and then we follow it up with a good red spell, the Betrayer's Bargain. Terramorphic Expanse, Bargain. Imposter is good. Phantom's also really good, actually. There's no black card here. I'll take the Phantom then, because I can sack the Phantom and then just like deal a bunch of stuff. I like Gremlin. We're getting in some good red cards here. I guess I'll take the Gremlin. The Gremlin is just a safe pick. Now I regret all my decision. But I think the Valgavos Faithful is still the pick here. The card's just good. And we go back to our first pick. Leech. How many? We don't have any enchantments so far, funnily enough. So I guess the Playmate is okay. It could still be like red-white, honestly. If we find some... Oh, but here we have the Disturbing Murph. I don't mind that. Turn Inside Out, also good. Get another Ripchine Razor here. That's nice. I like that card a lot. Okay, red's been flowing. Oh, I like Fear of the Dark a lot. That card's really powerful. Like, Death Touch Menace is such a strong keyword, and Shimmer and Glimmers aren't like common cards you have. Oh, Entity Tracker is a really good one. We don't actually have many enchantments so far. Vengeful Possession, though, is actually really good with the Egotist. I think I'll take the Vengeful Possession and try to lock in black-red. Oh my god, we got the Annex? Hell yes. This card is absurdly good. This card just like hoses everyone. Could also take the Specialist, but I'm not gonna say no to the Annex. That card is actually insane. Okay, so far this is looking pretty okay, actually. Oh, Stick Twister is really good as well. This is like just a very powerful card, honestly. Okay, Final Vengeance, removal spell. We are gonna take it. We did have a lot of black-white. I think we could have been black-white and black-red, but right now, like, the black-red is looking really good. I'll take the Winter's Intervention. The Malfunction or the Flash Creature. There are some strong artifacts in this format, and I guess to kill people, we can just use this. I'll take the Slasher here, I think. 3/3 Death Touch seems decent enough. But I guess the Final Vengeance here should be the pick. You don't want to have too many of those, though. We don't have many sack outlets. We only have the Murph, really, as a sack outlet at the moment. But I still think taking it makes sense. Inferno, the Lunar. That's okay with the Faithful. I think I can take that. Also, pretty solid stat line on a 2-drop. We have ways to, like, draw cards. I think I'll take the Fixing in case we want to, like, jump into green or something. Ooh, we got the Attic. That's nice. I like the Attic. And we have the Slayer. Oh, First Strike. Yes, please. Okay, we're getting somewhere with this. We already have like a playable deck and it's not even like pack 2. Fear of the Dark, another Bargain, that's fine. We would like some sack outlets. Like things that we can sack, yes, like the Murph or the Teeth, but I think the Murph is better in general. We got Roaring Furnace, that's a really good one, but I don't think we can play it. I really like the Fear of Being Hunted. That card is super aggressive. Another Bargain. 3 bargains. I mean, that's okay. Another Fateful. I do like the Bank. Really good stat line. Really, really strong stat line. We already have to think about what we're cutting here, honestly. Possession's good. Slasher seems filler. How many we have 6 enchantments now. That's good. Another Phantom. I'm not sure how good the Slayer is. It's really good with the Hunted, actually. Like, turn 3 Hunted, turn 4... Oh, we get a Fixing? Oh, we could also get the percussionist. Do I want the fixing or the value? I think I actually want the value here. 1/1 haste that I can just sack with the disturbing Murph. We don't actually have that many enchantments that we really want to be playing. I think we're taking the egotist here. The more the merrier of those. If I can get the fear of lost teeth back. Okay. Don't think I want more than that. Okay, we got the fear of lost teeth. That's okay. I don't think the faithful is really good in our deck. Oh, another intervention is really good. Okay, I don't think I'm playing this. 29 cards, huh? We're spoilt for choice in our RAKDOS deck. Is Vacuum even good in our deck? I mean, it kind of is, right?
Now that my deck building is complete, I will give you a quick guide of the deck. So let's start with our main bomb of the deck. The Unholy Annex / Ritual Chamber. This is an enchantment that you can cast for 3 or 5 mana, and then you can unlock the other half for, you know, either mana cost. The more important part of this is the 5 mana one, which allows you to make a 6/6 demon token. 5 mana for a 6/6 flyer is already pretty darn strong, with an added benefit of you unlocking the other side of the enchantment, which is the Unholy Annex, which allows you to draw a card and lose 2 life. But if you control a demon, you gain 2 life and the opponent loses 2 life. So if you're able to stick the demon for at least a turn, and then you can unlock the other door, you're already way ahead in tempo, and the opponent is going to have a very hard time to deal with the demon, and then you can also do some other stuff while doing that, because you are drawing cards of the Unholy Annex. So the idea of the deck is to play a Rakdos sacrifice deck. You play cards and you sacrifice them, and instead of losing value through the sacrifice, you actually gain additional value from the sacrifice. The 2 main players of this deck are the Disturbing Mirth and the Popular Egotist. We were lucky enough to get 2 copies of each of those combo pieces into our deck. While Disturbing Mirth gives us sacrifice value in the form of card draw, it itself can be sacrificed and also give us Manifest Dread, which is an extra body. This card is a 4-for-1 a lot of the times, and in combination with other cards, it becomes way above rate in a lot of situations. Popular Egotist is a very scary card both defensively and offensively, since it does drain whenever you sacrifice a permanent, as well as having an ability to sacrifice a permanent for 1 and a black, and then it gains indestructible. So it's also very strong when you are behind and need a defender that can gain indestructible, so you don't lose your creature as a blocker. The cards that work best with these 2 combo pieces are Fear of the Lost Teeth, which allows you to deal 1 damage to any target while also gaining 1 life, as well as Clockwork Percussionist, which allows you to exile the top card of your library and play it until your next turn. So even if you draw a spell that you can't cast with the mana, you're still able to do that in the next turn. Another one that works especially well with the Disturbing Mirth is the Infernal Phantom. Obviously, you want to have the Infernal Phantom on the field before playing this Disturbing Mirth, because when Disturbing Mirth enters the battlefield, the Eternal Phantom gets +2 power, and then you can, on the trigger, sacrifice it with the Disturbing Mirth, dealing 4 damage to any target while also drawing 2 cards. Another card that obviously has to be mentioned is Piggy Bank, a 2-drop 3/2 that when it dies creates a treasure. This can help you out in a lot of situations where you don't draw your necessary lands, where you can sacrifice the piggy and then get some extra mana for the next turn, which hopefully can accelerate your game plan a bit further. But the main card that you want with these 2 combo pieces is the Vengeful Possession. This allows you to take a card from the opponent's side of the field onto yours, attack them with that card, and then sacrifice it for additional value. A main player in this deck, especially if you are able to get the combo pieces together. And this is the main core of the deck. Obviously, since this is draft, we can't be lucky enough to draft 4 of each of those cards. I mean, if I could, I probably would have. But this is draft, there is some random elements to it, so we have to fill out the deck with other cards, such as removal and strong creatures. Our 5 non-synergistic creatures, such as Fear of Being Hunted, Most Valuable Slayer, Witch-Trained Razorkin, and Fear of the Dark are just solid enough cards to be played in this color combination, where you don't really need to look for synergies with these cards. These are just very solid cards to be putting into your deck in a format such as draft. I know this format is new, but I think Fear of the Dark is going to be a huge game player in this format. A 5/5 that gains Death Touch and Menace in the late game if your opponent does not control the Shiver, which can obviously be the case in a lot of these games. I think this card will do a lot of work in this format, and I think it is a underrated common that I think you should be looking out for in your future drafts if you are drafting black. As for my removal also has a lot of synergy with the sacrifice outlets. For example, Final Vengeance forces you to sacrifice a creature to exile target creature. This is obviously really good with something like Disturbing Mirth, which gains value off of being sacrificed. And outside of its ETB trigger, it doesn't really do much in the game outside of being something to sacrifice to a card like that. As well as Betrayer's Bargain, which has the similar effect to Final Vengeance, but it deals 5 damage to a target creature, and then it exiles it if it is put into the graveyard. Also a very strong player because you can cast it for 4 mana without even having to sacrifice anything. So a really powerful instant speed removal spell for this kind of deck. Then we also have the classic Murder, just a very simple destroy target creature. What more do you want? And that is the deck. I hope you guys enjoy the gameplay section with my post commentary. Game number 1.
We're playing against...
My opening hand is a bit awkward, so I decide to mulligan for the first time. My following hand is better, but I still need a 3rd land. I open with the monkey,
Okay.
and then I decide to attack for 1. Ooh ah ah. My opponent plays a 2 mana dork with a 0/4 stat line. I still decide to attack him with my 1/1 monkey, bluffing a combat trick. Then my opponent decides to play the machete 1 turn earlier than he's allowed to, because of his mana dork. On turn 3, I decide to play my Egotist. My opponent then decides to kill the Egotist though, seeing it as a big threat.
A bit rude, but hey.
He then flips his Manifest Dread card into the Shrewd Storyteller, which is also equipped with the machete. I am in big trouble.
Deal 6 next turn. Little.
I decide to play the Most Valuable Slayer.
Sadly, I mean, I can use this as a chump blocker for now. I think I do have to just do that.
I decide to chump block, and then I exile the Swamp, which is surprisingly good because it allows me to play the side of my enchantment for 2 black. My opponent then plays the Lionheart Glimmer. I am now in even bigger trouble.
I'll make the 6/6 dragon.
With my opponent having 2 incredibly strong creatures on his field, he decides to re-equip the machete onto his Glimmer and attack for a bunch of damage. I have to tank some of the damage with my demon, hoping that my opponent doesn't have a combat trick, which he luckily does not. But he still gets the Survivor trigger and puts a 1/1 counter on the Glimmer. He then plays a Doll, drawing him an extra card. I am still in big trouble.
Okay, alright, I think I do this here. I will discard this. Very nice, very nice. Okay. This allows us to do this then. Attack for 5, put a +1 counter on this. Give it first strike. I'll put a +1 counter on this. I will sacrifice this dude. Draw 2 cards. Very nice. Very nice. Now we're back in it, baby.
At this point, I thought we could possibly have a chance at coming back at this.
Oh, fuck me. Ay. Okay, well that's... Okay, that's fine though. We can chump this, murder the abduction. Jesus, this is very close, isn't it?
I decide to murder the Fear of Abduction, thinking I would get back my demon, which I do not, since the demon is a token and is now fully exiled.
Oh, it doesn't even return. Oh, that's absurd.
I decide to play my Fear of Lost Teeth as a chump blocker for the Glimmer.
Wait, this card's insane, huh?
And he also plays the Mana Dork again and the Defiant Survivor.
Okay. Okay. Oh boy. So I can deal 4. And I can pay the ward costs as well. No! Oh my god. That's so strong.
My opponent decides to resurrect his Fear of Abduction, completely hosing whatever plans I had. He exiles my Phantom, and now I'm only left with a Piggy blocker.
Okay, I have to just kill the Defiant Survivor at this point, I think. And hope I draw a removal spell. Anything else doesn't really work here.
There's not much left for me in this game to really be able to come back at this point. But who knows, I still have the Attic. I decide to play the Attic. What could I possibly draw to get me out of this situation? And you won't believe what I get. I get absolutely nothing.
Alright, GG.
Game number 2. I have a bit of an awkward hand and decide to mulligan it. A lot better hand with enough lands and a piggy bank to be able to have a nice 2-drop on time.
Okay, he also went down to... Oh, he went down to 5. Holy moly.
He plays the Innocuous Rat, which is a very powerful 2-drop. I decide to play my piggy as a blocker for his 1/1 rat. My opponent hovers my piggy, which makes me think he has a removal spell.
If he kills piggy, I'm happy.
And he does.
Okay, sure. Oh, he gets a treasure as well. That's kind of cute, actually.
Quite a slick play from my opponent there. I decide not to really do anything here because I do have the 2 mana intervention. He plays his most valuable Slayer, giving his rat +1 and first strike on the attack. I decide not to do anything against the rat and just kinda not do anything this turn in general. I consider playing my Internal Phantom, but in the end, I realize with 5 mana, I'm just able to get more value by playing the Vengeful Possession on his most valuable Slayer. I discard the Winter's Intervention since it doesn't really do much in this situation. I attack with the most valuable Slayer and then sacrifice it with the Disturbing Mirth.
Sack it. Draw 2 cards. Value!
My opponent attacks me with the rat. I draw the Fear of Being Hunted, but sadly I do not have a second red source to punish the opponent's attack.
I can play this? No, I might just play the 5/5. Actually, no. Do I want to play the 5/5 here? I think I just want to play the Phantom, honestly. Yeah, no, the Phantom's good. Because we can next turn, if we draw a mountain, we can play with Fear of Being Hunted. My opponent does nothing, which makes me think he's a bit bricked out at this point. I decide to attack for 2, seeing whether the opponent wants to block with his rat, which he in the end does. He gets to manifest Dread for a 2/2 body, and this is where I decide to finally put down my Popular Egotist and my Clockwork Percussionist. My opponent transforms his manifest into the appendage, and he also attacks me while surveilling 1. I think I can just block and sack.
Now what I could have done here is block with the Popular Egotist, sacrifice the monkey, and then destroy his Analgum. But with my opponent playing black-red, I was a bit too scared of him having a trick that could punish this kind of play. I decide to cast the Attic, drawing 2 cards, and also losing 2 life, which in my position was definitely worth it. And I draw my second mountain, which allows me to play the Fear of Being Hunted, allowing me to attack for a whole bunch of damage.
Wait, is that lethal? Oh my god, it almost is. That's insane. Down to 3 health, baby. Let's go.
Game number 3. I open with a quite awkward hand, but since I do have the piggy, I decide to keep it.
Okay, we got our black source. I'll play the piggy. Piggy resolves. Okay, so no counter spell in their hand.
My opponent playing blue-white plays the Hardened Escort, which allows him to give +1 and indestructible whenever it attacks. On turn 3, I decide to just play the Popular Egotist. My opponent plays Bottomless Pool, which bounces my Popular Egotist back to my hand, slowing me down a few turns. He then follows that up with the 1-drop Survivor. He attacks with the Hardened Escort for 2 damage, which I happily take. I don't draw my 4th land, making my hand a bit awkward. I need to figure out whether I play for the greedy line or whether I want to get rid of his creatures now. Before I make my decision, I decide to attack with the piggy, seeing whether the opponent wants to block with his survivor. I can wipe his board right now, actually. What I could do is play the Fear of Lost Thief, killing both the escort and the survivor. Or I could play Egotist before I do that, getting extra value through the sacrifice triggers for draining my opponent for 1. I do decide to go for the popular Egotist, playing the more greedy line. My opponent then attacks and I do have to tank 5 damage to the face, hoping that my opponent doesn't have any way to interact with my board right now. He plays the Unwilling Vessel, which gives me a window to do my things. I decide to attack to see whether he blocks with his Unwilling Vessel. My opponent takes 6 to the face. At this point, I do need to go for the line of playing the Fear of Lost Teeth into the Betrayer's Bargain, getting good value from this play, destroying 2 creatures while also draining him for 1 with my popular Egotist.
Okay, so he locks down something, that's fine. He gets a counter on his vessel. But we're gonna exile that anyway. Okay, that's fine. We're gonna exile the piggy now at this point. Get a treasure. Attack.
My opponent then plays the Fear of Failed Tests, which I don't actually have a good blocker for. Still missing my 4th land, I decide to actually play the Annex, hoping that it can draw me some extra lands that I could use next turn. In return for that though, I have to let him attack me with the Fear of Failed Tests, which allows him to draw 2 cards. Probably not the right decision, knowing that I have the Razorkin in my hand, but at the same time, I felt like I needed to get some extra card advantage if I wanted to win this game. I finally draw another land, allowing me to activate my Ritual Chamber. Now what I didn't notice at this point was that my opponent kept 4 mana open. Now he could have had a counter spell, in which case this play made more sense, but in 4 mana, blue-white usually plays a pretty solid removal spell in the form of Vanish from Sight. Now my Unholy Annex will always deal 2 damage for me even though I get to draw a card. My opponent decides to attack.
Like losing 2 life here, okay. Well, in that case, I think I'm just blocking the Fear of Surveillance and taking 2. And I'm gonna start playing my big boys. I don't have any demons though, which is a bit of an issue. I can actually sack this, right? I can sack this now, which is funny. I decide to play the other popular Egotist and the Disturbing Mirth. Now, I know my opponent has all the mana. I hope I don't run into a counter spell. I mean, I have to do this, otherwise I'm just dying anyway. Okay, that's good. This gives me life as well, which is good. Okay. That's okay. How many cards does he have in deck? 18? I will let him attack me. Oh, wait, why didn't he counter then? He should have countered my spell. I guess he missed the opportunity to. Oh, Jesus. Well, I'm not dead, though. But I'm very close to dead here.
My opponent then plays the Cult Healer, and I am in a pickle. Now here I make a major misplay, because I actually do have lethal on board. If I play the Infernal Phantom and then sacrifice it with the Disturbing Mirth, I'm able to deal 4 damage to my opponent's face. Sadly, I do not see this play, and all I'm thinking about is whether I'm able to sacrifice 4 cards with the popular Egotist.
I think I just do this for now. Oh, I think this is it. Yeah, I think that's enough then. Is it? So I sack this. So I sack, I can manifest Dread. I can block 4, 6.
I have to discard down the hand size, and now my opponent technically has lethal on board.
Alright, I will block you. This deals 3 damage. Puts me back to 1. Does this resolve, though? If this doesn't resolve, then we dead, obviously. Oh my god, it does. Okay, okay. I don't think this deck has any burn. We're back to 1. Okay, okay. He's drawing all his cards. Can he deal 1 for burn damage in his deck? I don't think so. I think we've got it, baby. I think we've got it, baby. He has to... Okay, so that doesn't... Okay, okay, okay. That does change a lot of things, though. Oh, boy. But his draws has been... Okay, if I play you, I can murder it. Oh my god, I can murder my own dude. I have to pray at this point that my opponent doesn't have another counter spell. This is my only way to win this. G. Holy moly, what a game. What a game that was. Jesus Christ. This is what Magic is about, baby. Game number 4. My opening hand, I see Piggy, I keep the hand. I draw my 3rd land, which is great because my hand actually looks incredibly strong, and my opponent plays a Wary Watchdog, a very powerful 2-drop to have. I play my Piggy Bank, and my opponent gives me the trade for both. We both have death triggers on these creatures, and I decide not to block and take 3, hoping that I can deal 3 to him next turn. My opponent plays the Grand Entryway, giving him a 1/1 Glimmer. I move to combat and attack with my Piggy. And on turn 3, the Popular Egotist is usually a very strong play. He then activates his enchantment, putting his team up by 2 +1/+1 counters each. I then need to figure out if I want to block, and decide not to, and I take 6 to the face. At this point, I need to be very careful with my blocks, and need to not be too aggressive, since my opponent is clearly the aggressor in this situation. I decide to just play my Infernal Phantom to have very solid blocks for this situation. My opponent plays the Doll, allowing him to draw a card. He attacks with the dog, and at this point I decide to trade with my Piggy, because the 1 treasure could actually go quite a way. He then also decides to clobber my Infernal Phantom, which allows me to deal 2 damage to his Glimmer. I attack my opponent for 3 and then play my 5/3 creature. My opponent decides to deal with my 5/3 creature, which I, in return, sacrifice with my Popular Egotist. I get to drain him for 2 because I also used the treasure to do so. He attacks me for 2, and now I draw the monkey. I attack him for 4 damage. I will sack the Clockwork Percussionist here. That's very good, okay, I like that. I can play it next turn, that's very good actually. He then plays the Savior of the Small, and it seems like my opponent is missing lands. At this point I just start banishing things with the Ghost Vacuum. Get that dog out. Alright. I will kill this. Drain him. Oh, that's unlucky. And I will play my 6/6 Dwagon. Oh, sorry, Demon. And then I will say go. No real reason for me to attack here. I have lethal on board. My opponent plays the Watchdog, which isn't really a blocker for the 6/6, but he also exercises my 6/6 flyer. Exercise, okay. I decide to use the Ghost Vacuum to exile my own spells, actually. That's a really good draw. Sadly, I don't have a 3rd red source to deal lethal damage with the Vengeful Possession. I decide to attack with my 2/2 and decide to trade for the dog. In main phase 2, I decide to just play out the Fear of Being Hunted to threaten lethal potentially next turn. Since my opponent is stuck on land, and him playing the Glimmer Seeker, I see an opening. If that's the best he's got. I'll discard a mountain here. I mean, that's GG. Honestly, that was pretty easy. Game number 5. Now I'm just gonna be honest with you and show you my live reaction to these opening hands that I've been given. Ooh, we have the Vacuum. How good is that actually, though? It's a bit of a slow start, honestly. If I don't find a swamp here, I'm a bit, okay. Okay, Jesus. The game did not want me to play the game. With only 5 cards in hand, I was hoping maybe I can salvage something here, but my hopes weren't very high, since this format is quite high power, and if you fall behind, you're just going to lose automatically. I do draw a 3rd land, which allows me to play the Popular Egotist for 3 mana, and I also have all my colors, which is, I guess, somewhat lucky. My opponent passes with 3 mana open, which makes me think he has some sort of trick. I attack with my Popular Egotist and wait for him to do something. And do something he does. He turns inside out his Glimmer, which I then kill with the Winter's Intervention. He then plays his Doggo. And this card is absolutely absurd and is going to take over the game. I decide to attack, thinking that it could be beneficial to me. But what I've realized is attacking all these enduring cards isn't that amazing, because they still come back as enchantments and are now even harder to deal with. And this is where the card takes over. Oh, okay. Wait, whenever another... Oh my god. That's a bit ridiculous. Oh my god. I really need to land here. He gained 9 life as well off of that. That is ridiculous. It's not looking good, boys. I mean, we drew 1 hand full swamps, 1 hand full mountains, and then 1 hand full swamps again. Oh Jesus, okay. 7-4, oh my god, dude. Yeah, that thing needs to die. Alright. At least I get to manifest Dread 2 lands. Oh my god, really? We wouldn't even have drawn a land, bro. That's so stupid. I don't think I can attack. I'm on 7 health here. I'm on 7 life, dude. This is crazy. I've been stuck on 3 lands this entire game as well. Oh my god, okay. Well, I have to block that. I have to double block that. God, that feels so ass, but I have to do it. That thing's gonna steamroll me otherwise. Okay, we did draw a land. That's big. Okay. That's fine, that's fine. Like, we're not fully out of this, by the way. Like, we're not... Oh, I think I'm dead, though, now. Now I'm dead. Now I am very much dead. Okay. Alright, you got me, opponent. Oh, and the goats. Alright, you got me, opponent. Oh, God. Alright. Turns out, good card is good. Game number 6. Now, halfway through this game, my camera does die, but I hope my post-commentary will carry the lack of video. I have a pretty solid opening hand with the Ghost Vacuum and some other tools that I can play on turn 4. But I also top deck my Fear of Lost Teeth, which gives me a nice sack outlet potentially in case my opponent does something. My opponent just plays the Underwater Tunnel, Surveilling 2. A quite slow start, but still a very solid start for blue decks, in my opinion. He discards the Fear of Falling, which I immediately decide to exile with my Ghost Vacuum. Thank you for the food, my friend. I draw a Fear of the Dark, not giving me a turn 3 play, and I am at this point hoping I draw a 4th land. My opponent plays the Erratic Apparition, which is a 1/3 flyer that gets +1 whenever he plays an enchantment. I decide to do a little cheeky attack with my Fear of Lost Teeth, giving it +3 with the turn Inside Out, killing his 1/3 flyer for free while also gaining drain value. Sadly, my Manifest gives me 2 non-creature spells, but I still get a body in exchange for his 1/3 with the help of turn Inside Out. He plays the Unwilling Vessel. I finally draw my 4th land, which allows me to start attacking and then play the Most Valuable Slayer. I probably should have played the Most Valuable Slayer before, but I still wasn't sure whether I want to play the Infernal Phantom or the Rip Chain. My opponent locks down my Most Valuable Slayer with the Meat Locker and attacks me for free Vigilance. Still stuck on 4 lands. I am not too worried though,
since I do have some very powerful 4-drops in my hand that I can just play out and not worry too much about what my opponent does. I decide to play the Infernal Phantom. In case I draw a land next turn, I can play Fear of the Dark and give it +2 extra value. My opponent plays the Bottomless Pool, which bounces my Infernal Phantom back to my hand and also gives his Unwilling Vessel a counter for future death triggers. He attacks me for 3 Vigilance yet again. I got lucky enough to draw my 5th land, and now I can play 2 spells in 1 turn. Because the Percussionist has haste, I'm also allowed to attack with it and give it first strike and +1, forcing my opponent to take 4 damage to the face. I also play the Infernal Phantom as a solid blocker for the Unwilling Vessel. My opponent then unlocks one of his doors, the Slimy Aquarium, allowing him to manifest Dread with a +1 counter on the 2/2. And he decides to attack for 3. I finally draw my Ritual Chamber, but I miss out on some triggers here because I could have played the Ritual Chamber or the Fear of the Dark before combat and make my Infernal Phantom even bigger. He does use a 3rd Meat Locker to lock down my 6/6, keeping him alive for an extra turn. But my opponent then also decides to attack with a 3/2 into my 2/4, giving me a free block. I think he has some sort of trick, but he really doesn't. He just wanted to get a 4/4 flyer on the field, which I thought was a bit weird since I have a 6/6 flyer on the field. I decide to exile his vessel with my Ghost Vacuum and draw a Piggy. Man, I do love myself some Piggy. I realize Fear of the Dark is an enchantment, give my Infernal Phantom +2 power. I decide to only attack with my Infernal Phantom, seeing how he blocks this one creature. He decides to double block, and I decide to actually kill his face down card in case that is some sort of big flyer that could punish me. But even with the double block, I am able to deal 5 damage to my opponent's face.
Alright, that's GG.
Nice! Game number 7. I have a pretty strong hand if I do draw a 3rd land, so I decide to keep this even though it is a bit slow and reliant on me drawing some good cards in the first 2 turns. And let me tell you what a good card is. The Piggy! I do play the Piggy, hoping I somewhat find a way to get a land. And if I didn't get a land, I probably would have sacrificed the Piggy after attacking just to get the extra mana. And at this point, I think the best way to go with this is playing the Unholy Annex on curve, gaining me a card but losing 2 life. My opponent does the same thing. But since I was on the play, I do have a huge advantage over my opponent here. I decide to play the Fear of Lost Teeth and sacrifice it with the Disturbing Earth just to draw 2 cards and gain some additional value over my opponent. Finding the 2nd mountain was huge here because it allowed me to also play the Fear of Being Hunted next turn. My opponent plays Commune with Evil, which is a very slow play in the situation that he is in right now.
But next turn we have the demon, which means we're gonna be pinging him for more. We have ways to deal with the creature, so I'm not too concerned about this. I like my little demon here. All right. He's dead next turn if he doesn't deal with either the annex or the demon. Okay. Oh, he actually, wait, what? No, he actually still was kind of like back. I don't know why he left. He actually still had a chance with that.
Game number 8. At this point, I already have all the wins that I want, because usually you want to get 5 wins in a draft, and I have a pretty slow hand, but a very powerful hand if I do find my 4th land and a potential 2-drop. And my opponent plays the Reluctant Role Model. I top deck a Winter's Intervention, which does help me combat the Role Model by just killing it.
I mean, I do this now, right, in case he has like a buff spell.
He then plays the Patched Plaything, and I draw my Piggy. Now, while Piggy is a very reliable card, I have to make a decision here.
Double strike 2/1 is a bit of an issue. So we'll take 6 damage to draw a card here. I think 6 damage, I have to risk it here. This is too good if it doesn't, you know, pop off.
So I decide to take 6 damage to the face here with the Patched Plaything, in hopes that I can find a 4th land. I do not find my 4th land, sadly, which could have given me the Infernal Phantom as a blocker. So now I decide to just play my Piggy as a blocker, and I still have yet to find my 4th land. I don't want to take another 4 damage off of this patch plaything, so I just decide to block with my piggy bank, giving me the treasure, which allows me to cast my demon next turn if I do draw a land. He plays the Enduring Tenacity, and now I am in a bit of a pickle.
Dude, you've got to be kidding me here. This is fine because we can... Oh, it is actually good enough. I'll banish this, sack this. Deal 1 to this. And we have still yet to draw a land. There you go, finally. Jesus.
My opponent plays Reluctant Role Model and attacks me for 2. Having finally hit my 5th land, I have to play a bit risky here to go for the Ritual Chamber, getting me the Demon. I have to discard down to hand size, sadly, and I decide to discard my Clockwork Percussionist, which in hindsight probably wasn't the best play since it allowed me to combo off with the Disturbing Mirth. I still have yet to draw my 5th land, but I decided to just play my Infernal Phantom and go out and start being a bit more offensive, since I saw a bit of an opening with my opponent not really doing much in the last few turns.
Oh, now I do need to discard. Okay, I discard is pointless at this point. Please, give me a land, game! I need the lands! Okay. Okay, he can attack here. That's fine. No blocks. I have my 6 lifelink. Okay, that's fair. Dude! How have I not found a land yet?
Here, I could have actually gone for game with my Vengeful Possession, but I didn't realize that, so I decided to go for the MLG pro play of killing the demon with my Phantom. A play that just looks a lot more sexy in my opinion. But obviously, in this situation, you want to kind of just win the game instead of durdling. But I liked my MLG play so much, and my hand was so full, and I still kept drawing cards off of the Unholy Annex since my opponent wasn't able to deal with my demon. I decided to then discard the Most Valuable Slayer because at this point of the game, I didn't think it was going to make a difference. My opponent played the Fanatic Harrowing, which forces me to discard another card from my hand, and he was allowed to discard 1 and draw another card.
I probably should be discarding the land at this point. He's dead on the... Yeah. He's pretty much dead. Alright, let's go. This was easy now. The last 2 games have been quite simple.
Game number 9, the final game. Will I be able to trophy with this RAKDOS deck? I have a pretty awkward opening hand, not having a red source, but I have playable cards, some removal, and a Stick Twister, which I haven't talked about in the deck guide, but this card is a very solid card, and I'll probably be mentioning it in other deck guides in the future.
Okay. I don't know why he would do that now. Bit weird, but hey.
I draw my mountain. I decide to play the Stick Twister on 2, and my opponent plays the Tunner Surveyor. I also draw my Popular Egotist, which I'm a big fan of, so I decide to just play my Popular Egotist. My opponent plays a 3/3 Stalked Researcher and attacks me for 2. I decide to take 2 damage to the face. Turn 4 comes around, and now I have to make a bit of a decision. Do I want to play the big boy, or do I want to start removing stuff from my opponent?
Alright.
My opponent locks down my 5/3 with his Meat Locker. I do decide if he attacks with the Researcher, I would block with the Popular Egotist, but he gives the Researcher unblockable. I do at this point decide to block the 2/2 with my 2/2 lifelink, just for the life gain alone. Now in this position, I could have used my removal spells, but I decided not to really do anything here, because there was not really a reason to do something. My opponent plays Unwilling Vessel, which I decide to kill with my Betrayer's Bargain. Exiling it, I draw another land, which has been the case for the last 3 turns, if you, the viewer, haven't noticed by now.
I want to attack. I'll end my turn.
My opponent plays the Fear of Immobility.
He keeps that. Okay. I wonder if he attacks with the 3/3 now.
My opponent does decide to attack with his Stalked Creature, and I decide to block it and sacrifice my Rip Chain. Now here I make a mistake, because I could have used my Rip Chain to sacrifice a land to draw another card, since I already have enough lands at this point of the game. I draw another land off the top, and my options have been severely limited. At this point, I do regret blocking the 3 damage, and my opponent now attacks me for 4, and I don't really have much I can do. My opponent then plays the Gremlin Tamer, which is a good target for my Winter's Intervention.
So whenever an enchantment enters,
I do decide to kill the Gremlin Tamer on the stack while he plays the Creeping Peeper, because I thought the Creeping Peeper was an enchantment as well. I do get a good top deck here with my Fear of Lost Teeth, especially with the Final Vengeance in my hand, and I'm able to deal with 2 creatures this turn, but I was still left hellbent on my top decks for the next few turns.
okay, I can now attack as well. Way, let's go, attacking.
My hopes weren't very high. My hopes went even lower once my opponent played Surgical Suite, bringing back the Tamer, and then also playing Sheltered by Ghost, exiling my popular Egotist. I needed to draw something, and I needed to draw something badly. So what do I draw?
That's terrible. Alright. How many spells did I draw this game? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 spells? I just... 7, sorry, 7.
My opponent then attacks me for a whole bunch of damage, and I just need to take it to the face. Then he plays a Fear of Falling 4/4 flyer, which gives him a Gremlin. And late to the party, my Ghost Vacuum is arrived. Very late to the party.
That could have been useful like 2 turns ago, actually, when he did the Surgical Suite, but... Alright, better late than never, I guess. Okay. I mean, we are pretty dead here, right? Like... Oh, we are just dead. Okay, nice. Drew nothing but land. That's fine. That's just how the game works sometimes. But hey, we got 6 wins. A bit sad, but what can you do? You can't win them all, baby. You can't win them all.